Hey guys, it's Mandy. Welcome to my channel. So in my last video, I showed you guys a property that didn't end up being a very great investment for us. This video, I'm going to show you a property that has been a really great investment. It's very similar. My dad bought this property 20 years ago, back in 2001. He paid $36,000 for the house, and it is a smaller 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. The entire time that we have owned this property, it's only had one tenant in it until very recently. So that first tenant, she lived in the house for almost 20 years. Unfortunately, she passed away about a year ago. And so in February of 2021, I got the property back. And it took me about 10 months from the time I got the keys back to the time that it was re-rented. So December 1st was whenever the new tenant moved in. A couple reasons that it took so long. One is because we had 2 other properties that we were working on before we started working on this property. Another reason is because it did need some pretty extensive repairs to the floor joist, which is a bigger project, and I wanted to make sure that I got a reliable, honest, someone that I could trust to do a good job with that repair. It's easy to hire a handyman to fix something, but it's not so easy to hire someone who you can trust is gonna do a very good job. And since that was a structural thing and I knew it was gonna cost a lot of money, I wanted to wait, even if it took, I think it took like 5 months for me to get on their schedule, but I wanted to wait to make sure that it got done correctly. So I'm going to show you a tour of the house. I'm going to point out everything that we replaced and everything that we decided not to replace, and then give you an itemized breakdown of the cost for those things. One thing that you're not going to be able to see in the video is the damage to the crawl space and the repair of that. That was the most expensive part of the whole project, was getting that replaced. The thing that is a little odd is that we had floor joist rotting in 2 separate areas, literally all the way across the house from each other. And it was both from water damage and both from 2 separate issues. One issue was being caused by the washing machine hookups leaking. So one of the valves for the hookup was leaking. It was running down into the wall underneath the linoleum flooring, and there happened to be a hole. So there wasn't a lot of rot and damage to the subfloor. Actually, that water was running down that little hole, and I'll show you a picture of it so you can see. It's really odd. I'm not sure how the hole got there to start with, but it was running down that hole and onto the floor joist that was directly under that hole, and it rotted out. Actually, the floor joist had fallen to the ground. It wasn't even there anymore, and it was starting to cause rot to the surrounding area as well, I think just from that area staying so wet. I don't think the tenant was actually aware of this water damage because the linoleum was covering up the hole, so you couldn't see that hole in the subfloor. And even though it felt just slightly soft there, it wasn't obvious that there was water damage until we pulled up the linoleum. And then the second issue where the floor joist was rotting, a window in the back bedroom was leaking. What the contractor said was that the vinyl around because the house has vinyl siding, the vinyl was on the window trim was not installed correctly, and so it was causing water to channel down behind the siding, and it rotted the rim joist first. That area of that portion of the rim joist that was underneath the window, and it was starting to rot the floor joist as well. Unfortunately, we had 2 separate areas where we had to cut in from the top and go down and repair the floor joist. We couldn't come in from the bottom at all because the crawl space is very low to the ground, so we cut in from the top, assessed how bad the damage was, and replaced all the rotted floor joist. Just the labor for that, and it's hard for me to tell you the exact amount of labor that went towards fixing that issue because my contractor billed me by the hour, but the labor for that I'm estimating was about $5,000 for both of those areas. Okay, so I'm going to show you a tour of the property, what it looks like completely renovated. I'm really proud of this house. I think it's one of my very best renovations so far. Okay, so this is the outside of the house. It's a cute little house. It is right in the middle of town, so it's right there on the highway, which is okay for a rental property, but I think it will decrease the value of the house a little bit if it were to sell as a residential property. Now, most of the other houses a little further down this road have all sold as commercial. So that's definitely a possibility for this house, especially since it's on a double lot and you could have a pretty good parking space in the back. The issue is that right now I believe it's zoned as residential, and I'm not wanting to sell it anyway, so we're just going to keep it as a rental property. All right, so here's the inside of the house. This is the living room, of course. We did not do much in the living room. I did install the ceiling fan. It did have an old chandelier, which was kind of neat, but I think the ceiling fan's much nicer. We kept the original hardwood floor in the living room. And then the kitchen. So here's a picture of what the kitchen actually looked like before. And honestly, I think it's pretty cute. I kind of like that old linoleum floor. I think it reminds me of my grandma's house and waking up in the morning and my grandma having breakfast on the table and orange juice. It just looks like a cute little grandma kitchen to me. But I think tenants much prefer how it looks now. It has new vinyl plank flooring, new appliances, and new countertops. The countertops are just laminate, but they are supposed to kind of look like granite. Now, I don't think it would fool anybody, but I think it looks nice. We did not replace the windows in the house or the cabinets. The cabinets are the original cabinets to the property, so they're quite old. They're nice and solid and wooden. I did polish them up, but I didn't restain them or anything like that. I just polished them and left them. This is the laundry room. We painted in here, and this is the door out to the carport. There's an old mirror there that I still have to get rid of. I was thinking I was going to use it in the bathroom, but I went with something smaller instead. One thing that I didn't replace is the doors. So if you look at the doors throughout the house, they are a little bit old. You can see some damage to them. It's not bad though, so I just decided to keep them at least for one more tenant. If they get, we may decide to replace them after this tenant leaves, but for now I thought that they were okay. We did a significant electrical upgrade to this property. So there used to be a fuse box, and we added a breaker box. There were only 4 circuits before, so we added several more circuits so that we could have like a dedicated one for the microwave, and we added a dedicated one for the bathroom, and he also did some electrical upgrading on the outside of the house. I'm not sure on the specifics for that, but apparently something on the outside of the house wasn't up to code, so he brought it up to code and went from a 100 amp service to a 200 amp service. Here's the bathroom, and this is by far the biggest change. We literally gutted the bathroom down to the studs. So everything you see here is new, except for the bathtub. I kept the original bathtub. It is a stainless steel tub, which I really prefer over fiberglass, but they're very expensive to replace with a good quality one. This surround is literally like an $80 surround from Ace Hardware, but it is pretty solid. We did put drywall behind it, so it feels nice and secure and solid. I don't like fiberglass surrounds when they're installed directly to the studs because I think they feel really flimsy. Anytime we do a bathroom remodel, I always replace the shower valve and the trim kit, so that's all replaced. You can see a little bit of staining on the bathtub from where the shower doors were. I just could not get it off all the way, but I don't think it's bad enough to replace the tub. I think it's okay. We did keep the old propane heater, although it is disconnected. The gas line is capped off. So it's just for decoration at this point. I got this little cabinet off of Facebook Marketplace. I think I paid $30 for it, but when I looked it up on Home Depot, it's like a $180 cabinet. So that's nice. This mirror I paid $10 for. It may be a little bit small, but there was no way I was going to be able to install that big mirror I had myself. It was super heavy, and I felt like bad things were going to happen if I tried to install that. This vanity I got from one of those places where they resell like Home Depot returns, and I paid supposedly half price of what it's worth. I don't really know if it's half price. It seemed kind of expensive. I paid $6.50 for it. It is solid wood and it is really nice. It does have a marble top. So it's a lot nicer than the one that was already there. This little closet is the furnace and the water heater. Now there was an access panel in the bathroom, I don't know if you saw it, so that the water heater can be accessed without removing the furnace. But the water heater, the furnace, and the stove, they are all propane for this house. That's why I installed the carbon monoxide detector, and there's a smoke alarm as well. The bedrooms we didn't really do much to. We painted, we put new carpet in, and I installed those ceiling fans. So that's about it for both bedrooms, just the fresh paint, fresh carpet, and the new ceiling fan. So the other bedroom, there's a little like towel closet here right before you step into the other bedroom. And you can see the doors that we didn't replace them, but they do have some damage to them. So this one is the most damaged, and it's from the previous tenant's wheelchair. You can see where it rubbed up against there. So possibly should have replaced the doors, but I think they're okay. Some of them, like this one really didn't have any damage to it. It's just a little coat closet. So that's the house. I think it turned out really nice. I'm very proud of it. The tenant, she moved in at the beginning of December. She is paying $675 a month, and I also did require renter's insurance this time. It's the first time that I've ever required renter's insurance, but I'm going to start from this point forward. I don't think I'll ask my previous tenants, the tenants who are already living in other houses, I don't think I'll ask them to get renter's insurance, but for every new tenant, I'm going to start requiring it. And then just as a side note, the new tenant and her family, they're actually very sweet. She made me a bookmark for my Bible and like a handmade Christmas present. It was really nice. So the exact breakdown of the expenses for this property renovation, I'm going to go over real quick and then we'll be done with the video. All right, so basically it took 10 months from the time I got the keys to the time the property was re-rented. And the cost of utilities for that time, which is water, electric, propane, and the water bill actually includes sewer and it includes trash. So that was $1,035. The insurance, because whenever you have a property vacant, you have to include your holding costs, right? Which is like property tax and insurance. The insurance for those 10 months was $470, and the property tax was $266. So that's another reason why this property has been a great investment property, is because of the town where it's located. The property taxes are very low. So for the 10 months, just $266 in property taxes. Plumbing cost came out to be $690. That counts. There were a couple angle valves. Normally I replace those myself, but they were super stuck on. I could not get them off. So the plumber replaced a couple angle stop valves. He replaced the shower valve and the trim kit. When we had the floor open, to fix the rotted floor joist, we had the floor open. The plumber went ahead and replaced some of the cast iron piping under the house because that was going to be the absolute best time to do it if we ever needed to do it. So he replaced some of that. He replaced the washing machine hookups that had been leaking. And when you buy a gas stove, it normally comes ready to be hooked up for natural gas, but we have propane in our area, so he made the stove where it could work with propane, and then he hooked it up. So I think that's all the plumber did, but that came out to be $690. There may have been a few other little things in there as well. The plumber also let me know that the washing machine drain line needed to be jetted, so I had that done, and that was $225. The electric upgrade, which was taking the fuse box and making it into a breaker box, adding some outlets with dedicated circuits, and then doing some things on the outside of the house to bring it up to code and making it from a 100 amp service outside to a 200 amp service. And this allows us, if in the future we want to add an electric furnace instead of the one that's there, which is gas, we can do that. So the electrician, his cost came out to be $2,100, which I think is very fair. And I was super impressed with the electrician, guys. He was really nice. The total labor, like I said, I pay my contractor by the hour, so I'm not sure of the breakdown for each individual job, but he replaced the rotted floor joist in those two areas, pulled up the old particle board throughout the house, put down new plywood, drywalled the bathroom, and installed the shower surround. I think, and there's other little things in there as well, but I think those are all the major things. So his total cost came out to be $8,415. That includes a little bit of materials, but mostly it does not include materials. Like I bought all the plywood and the drywall and most of the lumber and stuff separately. The flooring for the house, which we replaced all of the flooring except for the hardwood that was in the living room. So the total cost of the flooring and for installation was $2,116. The carpet's pretty cheap. It's like $2 a square foot installed. And then the vinyl plank was some that was discontinued. He just happened to have just enough to do basically the entire house with. And then he wasn't going to be able to get it in stock anymore. So it was cheaper because of that. And the total cost came out to be the $2,116 for the flooring. The kitchen countertops were $916. The appliances, which is the refrigerator, the propane stove, and the vent hood, that was $1,803. We also had the house pressure washed, which was $200. We had to have a dumpster to do the demoing, pull up the old carpet when we demoed the bathroom, and the tenant left just a few items behind and stuff. So all that went into the dumpster. The dumpster was $283. And then actually one of my tenants in another house, he is a retired trim carpenter. So he did the trim in the bathroom, the laundry room, and the shoe molding that we used in the kitchen. And I paid him $500 to do that. And then there's right around $2,000 of materials that I purchased myself for the house. So $1,000 of that is literally just plywood and sheetrock. And then the other $1,000 is everything from the toilet, the wax ring, to the heat registers for the floor, outlets, the smoke alarm, the carbon monoxide detector, paint. A lot of that is probably paint and painting supplies. Literally everything I bought myself, it came out to be right around $2,000. And the vanity is the last thing, and that with tax was $729. I actually bought that here in Tennessee, stuffed it into my little Prius, and drove it all the way back to Arkansas. So anyway, the total cost for the renovation for this property came out to be $22,116. The rent will pay that off in just right under 3 years. So I think that's a great return. Let me know in the comments what you guys would have done differently on the renovation. Do you think it looks good? Would you have replaced the doors? I know some of you are going to say you would have replaced the doors, but the more you replace, the higher you have to charge for rent. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Would you be happy to rent that house for $675? And I will see you next time. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Bye.